Adam, take one. Mark?
I'm Adam Saleh. I'm an anti-disciplinary designer, and I'm an SJA Fellow. Everything that I've ever wanted to explore through design, footwear is the wedge. Footwear is the vehicle in which I do that. So that has to do with advanced manufacturing. It has to do with creating accessible design systems, allowing people to create their own designs, their own footwear, and it has to do with the conversation about design, talking about style, talking about fashion. I think one of the beautiful things about design is we can think about how to give communities strength and agency in designing a future that's optimistic for them. If anything is on my tombstone as a designer, it's gonna be that the designer's greatest tool is context. So I thought I'd come up here and arm all of you with a little bit of context on why my company is named what it is. I'll get there. Has anyone here experienced déjà vu? Okay. Has anyone here experienced déjà vu? All right, we're all on the same page now. Jamais vu? Never seen? How about presque vu? Almost seen. It's a lesser known idiom in the vu family. It means it's on the tip of my tongue. I became really curious about the relationship that presque vu had with my job as a designer. See, as a designer, I help people get ideas off the tip of their tongue, off the brink of realization and into reality. I kept pulling the string. When I went into college, I studied cognitive science and linguistics. I thought if language, if the spoken word is the technology we use to bring thoughts into reality, then maybe there was an analog in design to bring percepts into reality with the same speed and fluency. So armed with this information, I went off. And then the pandemic hit. So as any good design nerd that wanted to feel seen, that wanted to feel heard, that wanted to build community around design, I started making things. Procedural design, computational design, generative design, all accessible stuff, right? Not really. I would make stuff like bridges, megastructures, computational lattices. I'd render them out. I'd post them up. My friends were like, dude, this is cool. I don't get it. If design is a language, where was the conversation? Where was the relatability? The back and forth? I felt like I'd hit a wall. Until one day, I designed something that wasn't computational, but gestural. I designed my first shoe. And all of a sudden, those same friends were like, Adam, you gotta send this to Adidas, you gotta send this to Nike. For the first time, I was able to have a conversation about design. Something about footwear, its cultural relevance, created common territory for me to have this conversation about the future that I cared so much about, for me to be able to share the zeal that I had for this discipline that I loved. So I started thinking about these group of kids that I used to work with in the 9th Ward of New Orleans. I had a fellowship teaching Arduino robotics. These were some of the brightest kids I'd ever met in my life, brimming with creative potential. But there was a delta between them and I. See, I grew up in the Silicon Valley, about 20 minutes from Apple, and I had access to every single design tool you can think of. Probably why I thought those more esoteric designs were interesting, just to me. But those kids didn't have access to the same resources. And I thought, if only they had the same tools and access that I had, perhaps they could become purveyors of their own material culture and take advantage of this privilege that I'd grown up with. Within that group of students was the next Zaha Hadid, the next Dieter Rams, the next Virgil Abloh, perhaps the next Steve Jobs. if only they had the right tools and resources. So this became my obsession. And over the last year, thanks to the Steve Jobs Archive Fellowship, I've invested in a community space that serves this very purpose. It's a place where creatives come, artists come, designers, to be a part of the conversation of design in a way they've never been before, unlocking creative potential in their life and new routes into creative entrepreneurship. See, at Presque, we don't just build products. The technology exists. It has existed. We're building a new cultural framework, one that uplifts and values community-oriented design, bringing more voices to the table, and spreading innovation equitably across communities in a way that increases engagement and allows them to be agents of the future. So what does this look like in practice? Imagine I'm back in that classroom in New Orleans having a conversation with one of those students. We talk about his favorite summer afternoon. Our words take shape. They begin to augment the form of the shoe. Words like organic, subdued, iconic emerge. In real time, our design comes to life, layer by layer, through the advent of additive manufacturing and community-oriented design. Our shoe takes shape. We bring it into reality. So here it is. The confluence of community-oriented design, young ideas manifest into reality, the transition from concept to percept in incredibly short time frames. But the future of design isn't just about technology. It's actually about people. It's about bringing more voices to the table. It's about telling a story of design that talks about equity and that allows more people to become agents of the future. See, I saw myself in those students in New Orleans, and I realized this is an important fact because their future shapes our future. Thanks for listening.